Resonance presents an imaginative day of artist expression, April 18th, starting at 3 p.m. Enjoy Louisiana artists and musicians like Damon Batiste. This is a 21 and up event. General admission is $50 with tables available for purchase. Come experience the culture.
Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.
Good afternoon, Central Louisiana. I'm Jack, and this is the Let's Talk show here this afternoon on Urban Cast. Today's conversation is made possible by a silver sponsor, Acadian Ambulance. We appreciate their continued commitment to supporting meaningful conversations in our community. Right now, we are focused on the Resonance Cultural Arts Initiative's inaugural Cultural Arts show happening this Saturday, April the 18th. Doors are going to open at 3 p.m. The show going to get kicked off at 4 p.m. promptly, and it runs through about 9 o'clock that evening. Tickets are $50. You can reserve a full table if you like. There's going to be they're going to have a nice line up there because I think you get a drink ticket and some. There's going to be tons of food there for you to take part in. And on top of that, you get this opportunity to see all of these various forms of art in one place. And these are some of the things that Resonance is going to be doing here in our community. So they decided to just say, hey, they're going to give us a sample of it all. We're continuing the conversation that we've been having for about the last month. And today we're joined by Krislynne Flowers Brown, a dance instructor and visual artist who has dedicated her life to the art of dance. If you're watching live, drop your questions in the comments. We might bring them into this conversation. Krislynne, how are you doing today?
Hey, Jack, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
All right. Would you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience over here?
Yeah, so once again, my name is Krislynne Flowers Brown, and I will be representing the art of dance this weekend. And I've been dancing since I was 4 years old. And so, over 20 plus years, I've been dancing and dedicating my life to this art form. And so I'm really excited to get to represent it this weekend.
Cool. So what drew you to dance, Krislynne?
Yeah, so the beginning, the origin of me being in dance is my parents placing me in dance.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the story that it all started because I was walking on my toes at an early age, and someone suggested that they put me in dance, and we've been rolling with it ever since. And so every year, my mom, she would give me the option to stay with it or choose something else, and I've stayed with it, and we're still here. So that's the origins of it.
All right. And you trained at the Linda Lavender School of Dance
Yeah.
and Twin City Ballet for many years. How did that foundation shape what you're doing today?
Yeah, so like I said, at the age of 4, I started with Linda Lavender School of Dance, and
Hmm.
as you continue in that program, you can start dancing for their ballet company,
Hmm.
and I just believe, year to year, staying committed to it, and staying grounded and rooted in it. I mean, it has just shaped my love for dance itself. It's given me a foundation of wanting to inspire people. So it's more than just the performance aspect of it, which, people come to performances to be entertained, and that's good. But I think a dancer's hope would be that they would inspire their audience, and so training at Linda Lavender and performing for Twin City Ballet has just given me that passion to inspire people,
Mhm.
and to just to relay whatever that message is, to relay a message to the people that are in front of me, and wanting to see that performance.
Mhm. Now, your core training has, you know, has been in ballet, but you've studied multiple styles of dance, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
how has that versatility, shaped you as an artist today?
Oh yeah, so that the foundation would be ballet, but being trained at Little Lavender School of Dance, we were doing it all, whether it was tap or jazz or hip hop, and any other workshops or anything we were attending, we were doing all kinds of genres, modern as well. And so I think what that does for a dancer is it just keeps them open-minded,
Hmm.
right? It brings layers and texture to their performance, whether their focus is ballet or if their focus is hip hop. Hip hop can do so much for ballet, and ballet can do so much for the hip hop dancer. And so it keeps one open-minded and well-rounded. It brings so much texture to a person's artistry.
Yeah, the possibilities have just become completely unlimited at that
Oh
point.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. You train you train at places like the Dance Theater of Harlem,
Hmm.
and studios in Los Angeles. Uh, Being in those two big metropolitan area, what did
Yeah.
that experience teach you?
So yeah, and I even tell my students this, but I think I have this idea because of training in those two different places and other places as well, is that there is always someone better than you. And I
Mm,
know people probably do not expect that, but it's the truth. There's always someone better than you, and instead of living your life in a way of wanting to compete all the time,
mhm,
that the best way is to be humble and learn from them. And
mhm,
so when you're around just diverse types of artists with different backgrounds and experiences, they have something that you don't, but vice versa, you have something that they don't. And then instead of that being something that clashes, let it be something that that's collaborative, and learn from the person. And so it just opens your minds. It's humbling, when you're in a room full of others who are great, but take that humbling experience and learn from it, and and take some of those tools and put it in your own toolboxes. I'd say that's the main thing that I've taken away with being in the room of others from different backgrounds.
mhm. How did stepping outside of Louisiana impact your perspective? Because a lot of times we don't just see these formal dancers popping out of Louisiana, but
Yeah.
yeah, how did that impact your perspective on everything?
I think it was very impactful.
Mhm.
Stepping outside of Louisiana, it just reminds you that, like, you are a part of something that is bigger than yourself, that
Mm,
is bigger than where you come from. And when you have that perspective, then it also gives you a spirit of gratitude and just thankfulness as well. Just being a part of something that is bigger, that is impacting the globe, the entire globe.
mhm,
And so feeling like you are a part of something that is major, that is global,
mhm,
it gives you a higher level of honor and respect for the art.
mhm.
um and it's really cool. It's super impactful.
Okay. And you've performed in front of churches, schools, city leaders, public officials, the whole works.
Yeah.
How does your approach change depending on what the audience is, uh, which audience you're
Yeah,
performing in front of?
I would say my main approach pretty much stays the same. But of course, if we're talking about, especially when we're talking about age.
Mhm.
If I'm find myself in a room with kids, we know that they have shorter attention spans, and so we're going to try to make it as entertaining as possible and as eye grabbing as possible. But for the adult who is really just looking for inspiration and for something deeper, then movements would change and be maybe a little bit more texturized, but maybe not as showy as you would with kids. And you mentioned like churches, of course that has a different element to it. It has a spiritual element to it.
Mhm.
There's a different theme to that. And but overall though, I would say for every audience the goal is always to inspire. It's always to leave them with part of what I've been gaining all of the years, which is that's a hard concept to try to leave someone with everything that you have
Mm.
that you've required over the years, but that's the goal.
Okay. And what does dance allow you to express that words sometimes can't do?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it can allow you to express so many different things, so many
Hmm.
different emotions. We know that dance is an emotional thing. It's
Hmm.
also an intellectual thing, but for the most part, it's you have the emotion that's behind it. So, we know that in emotions like stress or like sorrow or just the utmost joy. When we find ourselves in those type of situations in life, sometimes we don't have the words for it, and just simple movement can help us feel those words, can help us or feel those concepts, feel those emotions, that we have or that we're trying to portray. And so I think movement and someone being able to look and to watch someone move through their emotions can be it can portray or it could convey something that words could never convey.
Okay. And you mentioned in your bio that I was able to read through, um, embodying life trials into the triumphs and through movement. What does that look like in your performances exactly?
Yeah, yeah. So just in life in general, right? You have the
Hmm.
beauty, you have the ugly, you have the highs, you have the lows, all those different things that make life what it is, that makes life worth living. I think if life was just about the highs and just about the beauty and the good, there'd be that element of what is it worth? What is all of this worth? And so in the art of dance, I think highlighting both is detrimental, and it makes it more impactful and inspirational for the audience because they want to relate with the dancer, right? And so if I'm able to bring that element of the lows or the things, the disappointments of life, then I've made a connection with them. And then the hope aspect comes in when I bring in the highs of life, or why all of the lows are so worth it. So then there's that connection point between the dancer and the audience.
Okay. And you've spent over a decade training hundreds of students.
Yeah.
What drives you to
Mm.
drives that passion for teaching?
Yeah, so I think that passion grows year to year, right?
Mm.
I started teaching when I was at the age of 16. I didn't have much passion for the next generation at that age. I was the next generation at that age.
Uh-huh.
And so you're not necessarily thinking about passing the baton, but as the years go by, that passion starts to grow. And you start to realize that without the generation that is ahead, without them passing the baton, then we have nothing. Without the generation ahead of me, without them being willing to pass on their knowledge and their gifts, then I have nothing. And so when you realize that, when you're mature enough to realize that and be able to open your eyes to just how this is all working because of every generation having that willingness to give, then that I think that sparks your passion, and it does grow as you teach the ages, and as they grow up and you get to see the fruit of your labor in their life, then it that even sparks your passion even more.
Right, right. And so, from a holistic standpoint, what have you learned from your students over the
Mm.
years?
Yeah. So much. First of all, I would say biggest thing that I have learned, not just as a dancer, but
Hmm.
also just a human being, is that sometimes you just have to get eye level. Whether that is with a 3 or 4 year old, where you're literally having to get on your knees and get eye level with them to be able to connect and relate with them, or
Hmm.
whether it is whether it's a teen and just trying to meet them where they are. I think sometimes as teachers and as people who have been in like a profession for a long time, we are expecting the next generation to rise up to the standard and to the occasion, and that is good. We should expect them to rise up, but we have to do our part in bringing ourselves to their level and meeting them. I guess the words I'm looking for is to meet them where they are in order that we can have them rise up to whatever standard that is set before them.
That's such a important concept in that teaching aspect, meeting a student where they are. So, in
Yeah.
other words, if you are teaching a group of third graders, you got to be a third grader to actually interface with them and move
Yes.
them and move them to that next level. That's so important. You have served as an artist in residence and are a part of the Monroe State of the City Visual.
Mhm.
What does that recognition mean to you?
Hmm. That recognition, um, sometimes when you find yourself in, getting to have these opportunities or
Hmm.
getting to be in a spotlight,
Hmm.
or getting to represent in a major way, it's just very humbling, right?
Hmm.
And it, because you know that, your beginnings are small. All of our beginnings are small. We all, and so when you are able to step into a position where you are representing something, it's just very humbling, and it just means a lot to you. It makes you want to keep going, makes you want to move forward in whatever it is you've been working on, and just to continue to reach others that you may not have been able to if you would have given up,
Hmm.
in the past.
Now, I want to ask you this question. I noticed you before we started the show, you are from Monroe,
Mhm.
and we are here down in Alexandria. How important, and our communities are a whole lot, in some aspects, a lot of
Mhm.
poverty in our communities and all of that kind of stuff. How important it is for young people to have access to the arts in communities like ours?
Yes. So, okay, so important. I don't think that this topic can be talked about enough when
Mm-mm.
it comes to just the youth, because you mentioned youth, right?
Right,
Specifically.
right, right.
Yeah. So when we're talking about the youth and arts, I think it does multiple things. One thing that the arts will do for youth, whether it's singing or whether it's dance or whether it's drawing or painting or culinary arts, whatever it is, it reminds them that they are more than what they appear to be,
Mm.
which is what we all need to remember. It reminds them that they have more within them. And if they know they have more within them, then they'll just do better. If they have hope in front of them that there is a future, then it will cause them to rise up and to
Mm.
to meet that standard. And so I think that's one thing that it does. And I think also the arts is that outlet that youth need, because children already have that creativity. They already have that wonder like spirit about them, and that needs to be honed in, that needs to be placed somewhere, because we know that if it is not, then they may place it in other things that are not fruitful and that are not positive for their lives. So I think it's one, an outlet, and then also just a reminder that there's more than more in them than what they may appear.
That answer has been somewhat the same across the whole spectrum of you
Mm,
guys that we've had the opportunity to interview for the upcoming program event this weekend. You are part of that lineup
yeah.
that includes music, spoken word, visual arts, culinary experiences, and all that kind of stuff. What does it mean to you to represent dance in that space?
Yeah, it's huge, because I do know that the arts, when we say the arts, we're meaning so many different things.
Hmm.
And even though us dancers, sometimes we feel like we are the main thing of the arts, it's just not true. We are a part of something much bigger. And so to be able to represent dance in that light, it's a huge honor for me. And I have a lot of respect and honor for the other arts. And because we are all connected, we're connected and driven by creativity and passion and love and all these things. And so I feel like a piece of the puzzle, that will be presented this weekend, and I'm pretty honored to do that.
All right. What? So now we want a little sneak peek. And what are you planning on doing this Saturday?
Yes. So
Give us a little
I'll
hint.
give you a little snippet. And so um it won't just be about this, but the song that I'm basing most of my dance on is bitter this bitter earth.
Mhm.
And in the concept of that song, it's talking about the bitterness of earth, whether it is our pain, our regrets, our sorrows, our letdowns, whatever it is. But then there's that phrase within it where it says, well, maybe this earth is not bitter after all. And it's talking about the hope that comes through all of that. It's talking about, just through the trials, there are the victories. And honestly, without the trials, we would even see the victories. We will even see the mountaintops and the beautiful meaning of life. And so I want to connect with the audience on the fact that, hey, we are all in this together. The hard things, whether it's grief or whether it's loss, and whatever form, we're all in this together. But there is a beauty to all of this, and so that is my main message.
Now I want to get deep in it now. How you plan on doing that? I'm
Yeah,
curious because I'm I'll be there, but I
yeah,
just want to because y'all can do some serious stuff when you're just looking at a painting sometimes, and then you turn around and look at dancing, and you can see the same story in a painting, in dance, in a band, and it's just like, dang, how can you?
yeah.
So now, how you plan on doing that? Let me.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, no, I'm with you. It just goes to show you how extraordinary
Mhm,
humans are,
mhm,
and how extraordinary our gifts are.
yeah.
But I plan on doing it using, if you know anything about dance, there's so many elements to it, whether it's expression of the face.
Mm,
And so you'll see my emotion through my face. You'll
mhm,
see my emotion through my body language. And just over the years as a dancer, you learn to be able to portray to the audience deep emotion using your body language. And I think it's also about being real and authentic.
mhm,
The more you watch the arts, the more you can tell what's authentic and what's not authentic.
mhm,
So at this point in life, I want, my goal is to get past the performative aspect of it. And now I'm in the stage of life where I just want to connect with the audience. I want to be real. Therefore, if there is a concept that I cannot be real about, I'm not going to do it.
mm,
And so it's about being authentic. It's about bringing my actual experiences, my actual knowledge and emotions to the forefront, because I can only present what I actually have. And so I think and that is only my take of artistry. Others may have other takes,
mm.
but that is the way that I will go about presenting my piece this weekend.
Cool, 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 cool. And your philosophy is about giving back. What has been
Mhm.
poured into you? Why is that so important to your journey? And you've talked about that as since
Mhm.
we've been talking. But why is that so important to you? Giving back.
Yeah.
Sound
Yeah,
like
giving
Sanko.
back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's because I feel like that's the law of life. That's the law of God. You give and you receive, and you give and you receive. Without that, life does not go on. And
Mm,
so, that's really important to me. I can look back in my life and see the seeds that were planted into my heart, into my mind.
mhm,
There are things that I do today and that I believe I can do because of what someone spoke into me, or the time that someone took with me to pour into me. And so I know that that's important. I know that without that, then things start to die. And so I just see such importance and beauty in pouring into others, and not just the next generation, but or the generation under me. But if there is a generation that has been before me, I would let me be a vessel to continue to just lift up the generation that's gone ahead. Let me be the vessel to continue to remind people that they also have gifts, and they also have a calling on their life that they are to share. And so, pouring out what's been poured into me is super important and super, I hold it dear to my heart.
mhm. So what do you hope that people are going to take away after seeing you perform this Saturday?
Yeah. Well, I kind of just mentioned it in my last response. What I
Hmm.
really hope that the audience will take away is I want them to be reminded of the dreams and the gifts that have always been within them. Maybe it's some dreams that they've forgotten. Maybe it's some hopes that they've forgotten, or just because of life's disappointments. Things that they've just put down to rest because of life itself or whatever. So I want them to be reminded of those things. I want those things to come back up to the surface, and I want them walking away, not just being inspired by my dance, but inspired to do something because of that. And so that is the main point. I want them to leave inspired and ready. And it may not be dance. Maybe it won't inspire someone to go dance, but it will inspire them to chase after what was always inside of them.
I hear you. To do something. That's what I heard. Just actually.
Yes. Yes.
If someone is thinking about this event, they're still on the fence. Should I go? Should I not go? What would you tell them about why they need to be there?
Yes. I would simply tell them, look, life is busy.
Hmm.
There's always something going on in life, and we sometimes get caught up in the rut of things, and we forget about just the things that make life beautiful, which are the pauses, which are the stepping away from the busyness of the world just to admire the arts. And and especially, like I said, in this busy world, there's not much room for creativity, but this will help bring our creativity back to the surface, and that we can bring it, and then we can take it and bring it back to our everyday lives and to our families. And so I think, I just think the arts is so important to the everyday life. And if they're looking for a time of just refreshing, of just relaxing and just receiving, then this event is going to be the event for them. So it's going to be well worth it.
Krislynne, before we get out of here, is there anything you'd like to talk to our audience about that we didn't cover here that they need to know?
Yeah, I would say the only thing is, just as a dancer, of course I think movement is important. Physical movement. So,
Hmm.
there's that song, "I Hope You Dance," that people may consider cheesy at this point,
Hmm.
but that really is my desire for people, is that I hope you dance, whether you think that you are trained or professional or not,
Hmm.
just to move and just to connect, to physically do what is within you is important. And so my hope for the audience or anyone viewing is that you would move, that you would express what is on the inside. And I think the world needs more of that. I think we've just been taught and trained to keep things in, and to build up a wall. But let those walls break down, and let's express the good things that are within us.
Hmm. Okay. Krislynne, we truly appreciate you joining us today,
It's
and
been good.
sharing, yeah, and sharing your journey, your passion, and the impact with our community. So
Yes.
I'm not going to be selfish and just say because you're from Monroe, so I feel you going back and forward there.
Yeah. No.
Again, so again, the Resonance Cultural Arts Initiative inaugural cultural arts show will take place Saturday the 18th at the Lagniappe Theatre. Doors are going to open at 3 p.m. and show going to be again at 4 p.m. And it concludes around 9 o'clock that evening. There's going to be food. There's going to be drinks and different things of that nature. The tickets are 50 bucks. And if you're really thinking about it, it's really not that much, especially with the food included in it
Right.
and the drink. So, and on top of that, we don't have to go driving down the Baton Rouge up to Shreveport. We can stay right here at home and partake in an evening of lots of good stuff. We also want to acknowledge the sponsors of this event, which are VLP Alliance, the Greater Alexandria Economic Development Authority, the New Orleans, South Africa connection, and 6 Feet Above. And we're going to be talking with 6 Feet Above later on this evening at 8 o'clock. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be back over here at 8 to talk about 6 Feet Above and why they decided to support this organization. To our viewers, thank you for continuing to support Urban Cast and for being a part of this growing community. A special thank you go out to our silver sponsor again, Acadian Ambulance, and our business partners, Sadler's Towing, Long's Products, Legendary Kung Fu, Tai Chi, Nada International Market, The Threadhead Embroidery, Elegance Beauty Supply, and Old Mel's Farm. We'll see you guys a little later at 8 o'clock this evening. We're going to probably also be bringing you guys, we have a big balloon released at 4 over at Rosenthal Elementary. So we'll be there covering that this afternoon. But look forward to speaking back to you guys again tonight about, 6 Feet Above and their participation in this program as well. Krislynne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Jack, for this opportunity.
No worries. If you can hold on 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and end our stream.
Resonance presents an imaginative day of artist expression, April 18th, starting at 3 p.m. Enjoy Louisiana artists and musicians like Damon Batiste. This is a 21 and up event. General admission is $50 with tables available for purchase. Come experience the culture.
Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.